Hello viewers, here is a Holmes HAWF2021 twin window fan. Today we're going to be cleaning and servicing this unit. These are notoriously difficult to take apart, so I'm going to go through this slowly and show the whole thing on video. Maybe I'll do this video twice. I'll do a full-length video, which will be this one, and then I'll do another video which will be like the quick version. So I'll go quick through all the long parts. So the first thing we got to do is remove the screws. There's 2 screws right here at the bottom. And there's 2 screws on the side here. And I'm not sure what the deal is with this. There's like something in the way of this screw hole, but there's a screw here. There's a screw here up at the top. There's another screw in the middle. And there's one final screw down here. So we should now, well, we should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Screw number 7 here is not coming out of there. Well, whatever. It's not going to come out by itself. So, at this point, it will split open. Oh, I missed a screw. There's one screw up at the top as well. It will split open, and if I recall correctly, I read something in the manual for this once where they said just to split it apart this far and then just reach in and clean it like that. Now, I think that's absolutely moronic, and I will not be doing that. I mean, it's moronic as in like the weight. That's the theory behind how you're supposed to clean these things. If you really don't like to take things apart and this is not for you, perhaps that'll be good enough. You can kind of reach under the blades and clean them off. You know, if you're okay with that, then that works, but that's not working for me. So the next thing we have to do in order to get it taken apart all the way is to remove these clips. And this is where it gets very difficult, because these clips are not meant to come off. So what I like to do is I put a screwdriver underneath here, and you can see it. Let's see if we can get this in the view here. Now it's kind of dark, but you can kind of see there where the tab comes down. It's right in the middle of the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put a screwdriver under here and push that tab up and out towards the top of the fan, and then eventually out this hole here, like that, and it'll come apart. It's not super easy, but you can get them off. So do the same thing over here. Push up and away towards the top of the fan. This one's being a little more stubborn. There we go. Okay. When you get through that, that's the worst part of it. So now, this whole thing comes apart. And this you can put in the dishwasher, pressure wash it, whatever you want to do with it. It's all just plastic. Very easy to clean. Blades. Sometimes they just pull off. Other times not. If not, which is the case here, there is a little thing on there. I guess it's like a spring type thing, and that we just pull up with a screwdriver. That will release some of the tension that's on the blade up against the shaft, and that should let us pull the blade off a little more easily. Okay, and there we go, and there's that. And again, you can put this in a dishwasher, pressure wash it. I'm going to soak this in ammonia D and then rinse it off in the bathtub because it's cold outside. Blade number 1. Get blade number 2 here. This should just kind of come out of here like that. You can get this wet and clean this as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the motors and the electronics out of here. So we got 2 screws down here holding the cord in. And the switch just comes out. It's not really held in place. On this particular one, I don't know if some of these are a little bit different over the years, but there's a little hook here that's holding the wires in. So I'm just going to pull that back and then pull the wires through. Same thing on the other side. And then once that's done, the switch is not really held in place by anything, so that just kind of comes out. The cord has little notches that it fits in, kind of angled off to the side, and then pull it up and that'll come out of there. So now all that's left to do is unscrew the motors, which is the two screws that are, well, depending on how you look at it, closest to the middle. Not the ones up here on the bearings, the other 2. These 2 will remove the motors. Whoops, wrong screws. So now we can pull this out, and all this stuff you can just wash with soap and water, garden hose, bathtub, dishwasher, whatever you want to do. So I'll take that upstairs and clean that out. Now the other thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to service the motors. They're a little bit dirty, they could fair to be cleaned off, so I'm going to take a small brush and I'm just going to wipe off the excess dust from here. Ideally you could blow these off with compressed air, that's usually the easiest way to do it, but this will work too. And I'm just getting the major accumulations off. You don't have to make it perfect, but when you get a lot of dust accumulating, it blocks the airflow around the motor, and then it can run hot and fail prematurely. So you do want to keep this clean. I'll have to wash this brush afterwards. This is getting all dirty. There's like a kind of an oily stuff on here. I don't know what that is. Alright, so now I want to clean and oil the bearings. So what we're going to do now is, I'll just show one of these on video because it's the same procedure. I'll take a set of pliers, and there's a little clip on here. I'm going to pull that clip off Actually, I may not be able to use pliers because, oh, there we go. Just going to pull this clip off. And then you can see there's hair on here, so I'm going to remove the hair. Don't want that on there. And now I'm going to undo these screws. And this should just pull apart like that. And don't mistake the orientation on this, because if you put it in the other way, it'll spin the wrong direction. So we'll make sure it sits just like that. So this is the rear bearing. This is the front bearing. This may or may not come off of here. It's not going to cooperate so great. So what's happened here is, I guess when they cut this little groove in there, it kind of it wasn't totally flat, and so it's a little bit, there's something on there that's protruding in the way of that coming off. So I'm going to take one of these here, and I'm just going to go along here and try to file this down. If you can see where the problem is, you can focus on that spot, but I can't tell where it is. It must be very small. Cooperating at all. Alright, I'm going to spend some more time on this off video. Okay, so that's off now, and there's some dust on here, so we'll go ahead and clean that out. There's some dust on here as well. We'll get that out of there. Okay, I forgot where I was because I had to go do something else for a minute. Anyways, I think we were going to clean the bearings now. So, take a piece of cloth here. I'm going to kind of roll it up like this. I'm going to put this in here. Pull this through and kind of turn it as I pull it through, and this should give us a good clean bearing. And I'll go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. Now this step is not totally necessary. You can just oil it and it's probably good enough. Okay, now we're gonna clean the shaft off. And you can see all the old gummed up oil that's on here. We want to make sure we get all of that off. That's going to degrade the performance of the motor. Alright, that's all cleaned up now. So we're going to oil it now. This is the oil we're going to use. This is 3-in-1 oil, say 20, and this is specifically for fans. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a drop of oil in the rear bearing. Actually, you know what? These bearings are the same. So I'll just put some oil in this bearing. And I'm going to put this bearing back in place. And I'm going to put this shaft inside there. And it should spin freely. It's spinning relatively well. And now for the front, I'm going to put some oil all along here because it's got to slide all the way on, and I want it to slide on as easily as possible. Actually, you know, before I do that, this washer in here is a little bit dirty. Let's go ahead and wipe down this washer as well. Actually, these were quite dirty. Yeah, let's get these all cleaned up as well. If we're going this far, we might as well do it the right way and get everything all cleaned up. Okay. A little more oil on there. Spinning pretty freely, and this is going to have some trouble getting over there, but there it goes. And snap that back into place, and it should be pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop of oil, a couple drops of oil inside here. I'm going to put some oil in the back as well. And kind of move the shaft back and forward here to get the oil really in there. And now we're going to put the screws back in. I'm going to try to make these screws pretty equivalent in terms of how tight they are. Doesn't have to be super tight, just snug. Okay, and it may or may not be spinning freely at this point. It's not really. So I'm going to take a screwdriver and just kind of tap the shaft a little bit. And this is just going to get the bearings into alignment. Kind of move it around like this a little bit too. And we want those bearings to free up. Alright, I think that's pretty good. So, just for comparative purposes, actually, I'll get the blades out just so you can see that this did actually make a difference. So here's the non-serviced motor, and here's the serviced motor. So you can see it does work a fair bit better. So, well, actually these motors weren't that bad, honestly, in terms of needing to be oiled. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one off video, and then we'll come back and put everything back together. Wait, there's actually one more thing here. We got to put this clip back on. So this clip goes right in that notch on the shaft, and you just kind of push it on there like that. There may be a tool that exists to get those on and off easier. I don't have it, if there is, so that's just how I do it, and it works okay. All the parts have been cleaned. We're ready to begin the reassembly process now. And we're going to start with the front piece, and we're going to set the motors in place. And it is important that you put the wires back under the clip and in all the guides so that it doesn't come loose at some point and then have an encounter with the blade. The wiring goes on top of the fan like that, or on top of the switch rather. And this fits in between here like this. To me that's kind of a crazy design, but well, I guess I don't know. Anyways, that's how it goes. Okay, that's that. This wire is very stiff, it's kind of difficult to get back in place. Alright, so let's get the strain relief back on there. Alright, and we'll screw in the motors. And you want to screw these into aggressively because they're going into plastic threads. So there's definitely potential for something getting screwed up. I definitely wouldn't use like a power drill or anything on this. Alright, let's give it a quick test just to make sure the motors are both running. Okay, they're both running and they're running in the same direction. Okay, we'll put the fan blade on. Fan blade number 1 and fan blade number 2. Alright, let's do another test. Alright, they're both spinning freely, certainly one more than the other, but I find that kind of annoying, but whatever. Now, getting this thing back on, this piece here, this little small space, has to clip onto these three pieces here. And the switch will get held in place once the back cover goes on. It just gets held in place by the force of the covers being against each other. Okay. That's together. This is working. So now we're going to screw it back together. Doesn't really snap into place or anything, it just kind of sits there. And I will cut this part out of the video. Alright, now all that's left to do is put these crazy clip things back on. And they go on a lot easier than they came off. Actually, that may not be entirely true, I don't remember. Yeah, that went on much easier than it came off. So now, if this is working properly, when you close them, it should stay out so it blocks the, extra. If your window is wider than the fan is, this will cover the empty space so that the air goes completely through the window and not around the side of the fan. Alright, so that's working. Close that up. And now we'll do one more final test. Pretty clean now. Start off with low. It's definitely moving a lot more air than it was before. And high. And off. So there we go. With about 45 minutes time, you have yourself a fan that is in good as new, working in cosmetic condition.